Hey,
Thank you so much for joining us. It was quite an emotional scene there yesterday. What can you tell us about? Were you in the courtroom for the verdict? What was it like?
it was intense. It was so emotional. It was, because I was in the middle. You had the victim's family in the front of me, and then you had the defendant's family behind me. And both the tears you saw, one was for happy tears, and one was tears of sorrow. So it was really, really emotional.
And how are the deputies there dealing with the tension? Are the families just ignoring each other, or how does that go?
Well, the investigator of the DA's department was there when Drink's family stood up, and when they heard the verdict, the second verdict of I'm not Stillwell, they got up and they left. They were upset. They were crying and they walked out. At one point, the deputies was trying to stop them from leaving, but they let them go, and a lot of the investigators went out with them.
And was it because the verdict was still being read, or there was still court proceedings going on, so they didn't want the interruption of the in and out, or why did the deputies not want them to leave?
Because it's just the verdict that was read. Everything else wasn't done yet. And once they heard the verdict, the second half of it, where it was Stillwell was being read, they got up.
Yeah. And so I know when everyone heard this, it's like, okay, they're free. I mean, the kind of thought was, especially Diamante would walk out of jail that day, but they have these pending cases. So was there a realization immediately that they wouldn't immediately get released because of these pending cases, or how did people come to realize that, like Tasha?
They knew about it. They knew about those cases, but they did not know how long it would take them to be able, because some of them were not actually indictment. They indicted afterward, because one case was back in June and the other one was back in March of 2023. Yeah. And so they did not know it was going to, hold them back from being able to get out right away. So they had to go work on those things.
Yeah. And we saw you there with Tasha outside the courthouse. I mean, it's just so chaotic after a verdict. Did they just close the courtroom pretty quickly and the defendants were taken back to like holding cells, or how did that work?
Well, they had another proceeding get ready to start right after, so they had to get everyone out and then send the defendants out and then bring the other set of defendants out for the hearing.
Oh, right, that status conference that continued today with the plea hearing. And so, I mean, were people
plea? They were still having status hearing.
Status hearing yesterday, and then then we saw it again this morning with the plea hearing for Winfrey. But
yes,
yeah, was he in court yesterday?
Yes, he was in court yesterday.
Okay, so they weren't there for the verdict, were they? The defendants were taken out.
They was taken out, went into the little holding cell, and then they brought the other ones out.
Okay. I wonder, are they trying to keep them separate back there in the holding cells? Do they all have like no contact orders with each other or something? Or
yeah, they hold them in different spots, because they have one on the 9th floor, and then they have the regular floor behind the jail. I mean, behind the court.
So any kind of friction between the victim's family and the defendant's family sounds like it was mooted when the victim's families left. Did Donovan Thomas's family leave too?
They weren't there yet. They were late, and by the time they got there, it was over with.
Okay. Mm-hmm. How was that? Did they just come up to the courthouse or the courtroom and see that this other proceeding was going on, or did you see them at all?
They were in the hallway when Donovan Thomas's mother came into the hallway. We heard Tasha yelling and clapping, and Tasha was ecstatic and very, very happy.
Yeah.
And she saw them doing that, and she wasn't happy.
Yeah, gosh, that's gotta be hard. Has there ever been like discussions? Because I know the family's been there sometimes, obviously not as much as Tasha and the family of the defendants, but has there ever been any kind of discussions between them over the years? Do you know?
Not that I've seen. No, I haven't seen any discussion. They walk by each other, don't say anything, it just keep going.
Yeah, gosh, that's gotta be hard for everybody involved. And then from there, you guys walked outside the courthouse, and then the cameras are right there. And I think everybody saw a lot of the video of what happened. It was pretty quick from the courthouse to outside.
Yeah, it was pretty quick. No, it took I would say about 45 minutes because everyone was it was a lot of emotion in the hallway. A lot. People were trying to take pictures, and deputies were trying to stop them from taking pictures. They're not allowed to take pictures unless you have Rule 22. It was just a lot of emotion, a lot. But you saw more of Stillwell's and DeMonte's family with the celebration.
Was Stillwell's grandma there? That's who I've heard about. I haven't heard about other family members.
Yes, she's been there. Of course, his wife.
Yeah, yeah, Kayla there.
Kayla's there.
Anyway, I saw that. I was like, I need to do a story on this because this is so strange. Just like from a lawyer standpoint. I mean, it wouldn't, like, the fact that he got married in jail would not be that interesting to me if this woman wasn't actually a lawyer who like was involved in the case and is now actually currently representing them.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
his children was there. His children was there.
How old are his kids? Do you know?
You have 10, 15, and 16 or 14, something like that. I don't know exactly the older one's age.
Wow. So 8 years probation. The state of Georgia, and maybe, well, obviously the judicial system there better than I do. What do you think about the probation conditions that they're going to be under? I mean, the big question with Young Thug is how strict is his probation actually going to be?
In the beginning, from what I've heard and what I've experienced with the people here in Georgia, in the beginning, they're very, very strict. You have to meet up with them, make sure you make the phone call, the visit. If you have drug testing, you have to do your drug testing, random drug testing. But then after a while, after I think 2 or 3 years, it becomes slack because the probation office is not enough for them. So they become a little bit lax. And that's what happened with his brother, Umfung. He had a probation officer in the Rockdale County, and no one was really doing a follow-up. And so they left him to do it, and he wasn't doing it. And that's how he ended up getting in trouble and not paying his probation fees and things like that.
Yeah. And that's what got him. Didn't Judge Glanville handled that, right?
Yes.
What did he get, like 8 years in prison?
Yes, 8 years. But then I think you only have to serve a certain percentage. So he should be out really soon, and they're going to go back to what the original probation was.
Is it pretty set in stone that if you violate your probation, you get it revoked, or you go back to prison for the entire time? Or do they do a couple years maybe instead of?
It depends. It depends on the judge. Just like, with Moontum, his time is supposed to go back to a higher number, and Judge Whitaker gave him 5 years. And you only have to do it like 30% of it. And if you do good behavior, it might let you out earlier, depending on probation itself.
Yeah, it was interesting because that seemed to indicate that she came down pretty hard on him, but then it was she had obviously we saw her give Shannon Stillwell the option of walking out of jail on probation, so she could have come down harder on that. It'd be interesting to know her reasoning, but
she did explain. She did explain the reason for that was she wanted to set an example of you don't disrespect the law.
Right. Jury may just like she's not going to punish him more on this gun charge to try to like make up for a jury acquittal or something. That would be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, so you were there. Were you there every day? You were there pretty much every day. I mean, I saw your lives
every day from the beginning to the end. Even pre-trial, jury selection, all of that I was there for. Only one period I was gone for about a week, and because I had my own little drama going on. But other than that, I've been there from the beginning.
Yeah. Wow. It was just, to me, it seemed like it was never going to end. And I know everyone's kind of talking about the jury interviews last night. And of course I was watching that. It was kind of must see TV last night. And did anything stand out to you? Because you've actually had seen these people in person. And I mean, did anything surprise you about their opinions? I mean, who was against it? And I know they talked to the alternate who apparently says that she would have forced a hung jury because she wanted to convict on everything. Did you expect her to say that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Anybody that was in my channel, I always saw her because she saw when I was watching her, because we were in the middle where we could see all the jurors before, right? When she was sitting on the lower floor, she was the one that whenever the state was coming in, she was like all in tune. The only one from the defense team that I saw her really, really like concentrate and paying attention, that was Adam. Other than that, everybody else, she had a face that, that type of face in her face, So I knew she was, because in the way she was writing all the time.
Yeah. God. And so, and they didn't find out until afterward, like right when deliberation started, that they were alternates, right? Because I think in federal court, they're told ahead of time that they're alternates, but in state court,
we knew, but they didn't know.
Okay. Yeah. I'd be pretty disappointed if I served on a jury, especially for that long, and couldn't deliberate. But I saw Thugger Daily say that it might be proof that God does exist. That she was a alternate. It's like, yeah. What about did you watch the jury interview? I'm still going through the transcripts.
Yes, I watched it. I watched the interview. I watched both. In fact, I watched the one with juror 409 today, because he had her on his channel twice. Some of the things I felt, this is my personal opinion, I felt that she came in with a biased mindset, and she wanted the defendants to prove that they were not guilty, not innocent until proven guilty.
Mm-hmm.
Because in one comment, she had said that she noticed that the attorneys were not saying anything. Some of them didn't even say anything for their client. And I'm like,
they don't have to.
They don't have to.
Yeah. Is this the alternate juror that talked yesterday that said she'd force the acquittal or she'd force the guilty if she was? So she did another interview this morning?
She did. No, she did too. I didn't see it yesterday. I watched it today.
Okay. Yeah. I got it. Is that Dennis's channel?
Yeah. I did a reaction to it.
There's just so much content. It's hard to keep track of it all, especially when you're trying to make your own content,
Hello.
to follow everything. Well, who are the big defendants left? I know you have a friendship with Tasha. Are you close with any of the other families, or do you have any insight into
all the first set of defendants? I was pretty close to. The ones that's coming up now, I don't know too much about them. I'm reading more about their charges and things like that. But from my understanding, majority of them are serving time.
Yeah.
They're in jail. They're not on just detained. They're in jail, actually, or prison.
They already other case convictions, stuff they've already been convicted of. So.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see who goes to trial first. It sounds like I heard Chris Eppinger's lawyer saying that he's going to take it to trial, and definitely with his charges of shooting a police officer, it seems like that's the kind of thing. If you don't really get a plea deal that allows you much leeway on that when you're charged with shooting a police officer. So that seems kind of destined to go to trial. Yeah. And it seems like Demekion Garlington, the seriousness of his charges, it seems like the guy's charged with murder. We're going to see that. But with the plea offers to Winfrey, pretty lenient plea offer. Of course, he wasn't charged with murder. But is there any chance, or is there any rumbling around the courthouse that maybe there won't be more trials? Or
well, one of the things the judge did when we weren't on camera, she did ask them, because remember they did a plea deal hearing back in June last year, and that's when Judge Dempsey was over it, and they all rejected their plea deal. So the judge did offer to the state, to give them a better plea deal than what they gave the one that they rejected, and so they have until the 17th to come back with those plea deals. And most likely, I would think, from what I've seen, I think they're going to come back with better deals, especially like with Farley, with somebody else. It was Farley, Blaylock, because Blaylock had his appeal.
Oh, right.
Still did his appeal, and we're waiting for the answer for that. So, and that's Lil Rod.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if they already have convictions, it's always been kind of why bother with these other charges. Is Miles Farley the one who got bond? One
Yeah.
of these guys got bond, right? And he's charged with murder. I mean, I'd love to go back and watch the bond hearing for him and see what Glanville's reasoning was to give him bond, but not bond to the other defendants. Do you know? Do you remember?
But remember, he was not the one who actually supposedly the trigger person. He's more like the accessory or conspiring with the other people.
Okay.
He was not the person who did it. And he only has one charge, which is the RICO and the murder.
Okay. And it's like how Quamarvius Nichols wasn't considered the trigger man either, but he was in the police chase, which usually if you're fleeing from police, that makes it pretty hard to
accessory
later.
Yeah.
Is that what happened? Okay.
Yeah.
So what was it like when Young Thug and the other defendants left the trial? I mean, I know there was some lack of interest, but it seemed it didn't lessen all that much, at least from my end. I mean, the trial was still going on and the two guys were still there.
Inside the courtroom was really empty.
Yeah.
Because I sat in that bench by myself many days since Jeffrey left. So everybody else, you saw Tasha, of course, and then you saw Stillwell's grandmother. She was there constantly every day.
Yeah.
And then you saw once, different individual females that was there for Stillwell.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just like I don't want to get too TMZ here, but his marriage was such a surprise to everyone because it seemed like just like a week earlier, his girlfriend or his girlfriend at the time of his arrest had testified, and when they asked and she said she didn't know if they were still dating, and it's like, well, I think this answers this. I think she got her answer here, but God. So did you all think this was coming? I mean, a lot of people, especially trial watchers, did not think there was any way they could convict, and especially for Diamante, the evidence on the Thomas case just seems so thin that he of either of them seemed like the best chance of full acquittal. Is that how you saw it, or did you?
No, I saw it that way. The only thing, and I said Stillwell was probably going to get that gun charge because when they traced the gun back, the ownership was his girlfriend. So that was a given. And then when the guy who called the 911 and he's the one saw the gun being thrown out the car. So, I mean, it was a given.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the actual, shooting and it didn't match at all.
Yeah. I see someone saying in the comments, Woody needs to be prosecuted, and of course, better than I that the theory from Stillwell is that he's the shooter, and that was a big part of the defense was that he's the one who killed Donovan Thomas. But then I've always just kind of wondered, it's like, do people realize like the seriousness of that allegation? It's like, so Woody's walking around getting away with murder, but he's like on TikTok live all the time. And like, I saw he did like a YouTube live with Doug Weinstein. Like, is there a lot of thought that he is the killer, or are people thinking that was actually just a decent defense to cast doubt on?
I think it's because of his, like reputation at the time back in 2015 that you mess with him, he's going to get you, and that's the way he carried himself as that. But based on the state's evidence and things that they have seen and witnessed and things that they're saying, he could not have been the shooter because it didn't match.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I'm wondering, it seems like people don't take it very seriously to like accuse him of that. And he doesn't seem to really mind the fact that he's been accused of murder. I mean, he doesn't really seem bothered by it. I saw a interview where he said if he could, he would, apologize to Young Thug. So it kind of just seems like they're not really taking that allegation so seriously. I mean, it's the defense's job to kind of raise that stuff to cast out, but it seems like it's been really embraced by some trial watchers when, there's no chance he's going to be prosecuted for this because, like you said, like there's not a lot of evidence supporting the fact that he actually did it, right?
Yeah, it's not at all. Based on what they have, even like they say, oh, he had another phone. He must have had, but they check all of that out. They check that. you know.
Yeah.
And they basing it on his comment, according to them. Supposedly he had said it during the ex parte meeting and saying that he supposedly shot Donovan, but according to other sources, they said no, he didn't say it that way. It's
Yeah.
just the rumor.
Yeah, it's taken a little out of context. It seems like there was so much to this trial that was such a circus. I mean, I heard the jurors say they didn't even know about this ex parte, and they thought Glanville just left the case because of health reasons, which makes sense because he has that dog and everything. But it just seemed like it got so chaotic over the summer. What were you guys thinking at the time for actually being in the courthouse when it was so crazy? Did you expect him excuse me, to get kicked off, or was that a surprise too?
No, that wasn't a surprise to me because it was just a matter of when will he be kicked off. I knew eventually he was going to get kicked off because of the way, when I tell you the tension between him and some of the defense attorney, it was like you can feel it. It was just like horrible. And I seen the change in Steele. So when I first started coming, Steele was so like very caring and thoughtful and very warm. And then all of a sudden he started distancing himself from, us regular people. He used to always speak every day. Now all of a sudden he would say hi. He wouldn't have like conversation like he used to. It seemed like he was more hurt of what was happening in the courtroom.
Yeah. That one thing, I mean, everyone seemed to take it personally. Obviously it's hard not to when you're so personally invested in this case, but you probably heard the jurors last night talk about how they thought Love took everything so personally. And what I noticed just watching at home is that she really seemed to back off the case in the last few weeks. I mean, I think part of it was them just bringing in other prosecutors to kind of ramp things up and get more witnesses in at the time. But I figured that she would be the one to give the closing just because it's her case, and Bonnie Willis has given her the endorsement. But it seemed like the fact that she didn't give the closing was a big sign that she has been kind of taken off that case a little bit. Is that the thought from?
No, remember, she had sent an email to Bonnie in regard to something somebody had said to her, and she felt I believe she felt burnt out, and her being a human being, she felt the hatred that was being pushed towards her. And there was many times her and I had conversation, and she would always question, how do you think I'm doing? And, do you think I'm acting to this and to that? And I was like, yeah. She said, you think so? And it was just like, to me, it felt like she's always fighting for her position as a DA, and it seemed like she was not respected as her male counterparts and things like that.
Yeah.
So she had to do that extra mile, be that extra mean to be able to be respected as a DA.
Yeah. I thought Hilton was head and shoulders a better prosecutor than her, just in terms of like questioning witnesses, putting together the case. I mean, have you covered other trials at the courthouse with either of them, or did you have prior experience?
I have prior experience with other court cases, but at that courthouse, I've done a couple of different cases. Jeffrey's nephew was one of the cases I've done there too. His nephew, and I've done the Spa murder. I did that case there too. So to answer your question, as far, I have never done anything with them because Hilton came from the family side, the family violence.
Oh yeah.
She came from that side, and I hadn't had any kind of cases with family law. But as far as criminal cases in Superior, I did it with other with Smith one time, but not Love at all.
Yeah. Thanks for the super chat, Spit and Fire. It's been fun covering the trial through all the clips and everything. But we'll be getting back to more lives here, and we'll see if anyone has more questions here. But yeah, so when Judge Whittaker took over, I mean, to me, it was such a night and day difference between everything. And for me, I mean, being on the West Coast, I kind of thought to myself, I was like, I'm going to have to start getting up pretty early here. And how was it a lifestyle change for all the people who go to the courthouse every day? Because you're all of a sudden you're getting there 2 hours earlier every day, right?
With me, I'm one of those punctual people, so I embraced her. She was like my type of judge, get in there, get in time, do your work. But see, I had gotten slack, and I was taking my time. The first day, I was like, oh, I'm late, that type of thing. So it was really refreshing to have someone who took, and then she did not like to waste time. When you came in there, you had to do something. You had to get something. Yeah. She didn't play that. So
yeah. Have you seen Judge Glanville around the courthouse since?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, is he? I mean, I was always torn about it because I thought that he was a terrible judge on the whole thing. But overall, he's a nice guy. Is he a nice guy?
He's a very nice man. Yeah. Very nice. Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah. And is he all? I mean, have you had a conversation with him, or is he just like say hi and he's busy with his other stuff? Or
most of the time, I'm seeing him traveling a little bit further than me. I'm not running up to catch up to him, but majority of the time, he'll say hi to me, or his bodyguard will speak to me all the time.
He has a bodyguard.
Yeah, he has a bodyguard because he was doing YSL. All those judges had bodyguards that was doing the gang case.
Yeah. And is that for other gang cases too, not just the?
Yeah. Not just YSL. Yeah. Well, Judge Cox, he was doing YFN. I did that case too. He didn't have bodyguards. In fact, I saw him the other day, and he's still walking around just him by himself.
Yeah, wow. So in the YFN case is the case that Lucci is currently in prison for, and I remember watching his change of plea and sentencing on that, and hearing the description of what happened, and just being like, this sounds crazy. Like there was some shootout, and his friend was
out the car. Yeah.
So is anything in the indictment related to the murders of McMiller and Ford? Because that was kind of one elephant in the room. It's not just two murders in this case. It's not just Thomas and Drinks. It's McMiller and Ford, but. Who killed McMiller and Ford? Has there been anyone arrested?
It's supposed to be two guys that was arrested, but it's just so far away. I can't remember. I don't want to lie and give you what I remember, but it was two individuals who are serving time, I think, right now for it.
Yeah. Oh, I see somebody saying I hate Glanville. See, I don't want to say that I hate anyone. He was a terrible judge. I mean, it was crazy. It was like kind of crazy bad. But in terms of like shitty people in the world, I don't think Judge Glanville like even really registers on like the Richter scale. Being a bad judge is like not the worst thing in the world.
He's saying I don't know SHIT because there was nobody arrested. Yes, there was someone arrested. Big Jeff said it was someone arrested for it.
I don't know. Every time I've Googled it, I haven't seen anything about it, but I don't know. It just seems like such a crazy one. But Glanville was wrong and biased. People have a reason to hate him. Hate is just such a strong word.
It is. I don't hate anybody, so
yeah. Spread the love. But I saw Shannon Stillwell's lawyer, who I'm going to talk to Max tomorrow here on YouTube. But he said that he hopes people take away from this that you should try to love your enemies and that kind of thing. Do you, as somebody who sees this in person and lives in the Atlanta area, do you think there's any chance that people have like Jimmy Winfrey said that he wants to be a fruit and not a poison? Do you think people are going to change and that this has kind of taught everyone a lesson?
I believe Jeffrey has changed.
Yeah,
I believe he has. When I talked to his mom the last time, she sees a difference in him. She sees a difference.
Yeah, great. Well, it's just kind of a question of like we were talking about how strict is his probation going to be, and you said that's kind of a question up in the air. But so your coverage plans are going to continue. I assume you'll be there on the 17th when they have their status conference.
I'll probably be there for the 17th for that case, but I'm moving on to another case that's going on in Superior Court.
What's that one?
That one has to do with a gentleman who ran over his neighbor, and he was convicted, but then it got overturned.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Oh,
now,
B-Dash says the lead detective testified that nobody was arrested in that Ford McMiller thing, but I know there isn't anything currently going on with it. But gosh, that's crazy. That's nuts. But anyway, well, Sylvia, is there anything else you wanted to say about the verdict, or anything else you think we should know? Like somebody who wasn't there at the courthouse, if you could, tell us, like.
it was an experience because I got in trouble a couple of times. Remember?
I did. I saw that when I didn't think it was really the judge's place to criticize you for having nicknames for.
But let me tell you what happened, Meghann. I've been getting she Glanville, all of those judges that are in there has been getting letters from different people because me doing commentary, but they had this feeling that they needed to write to the judge of all the wrong that I've ever done, and that was one of them. And the judge, she really like respects me, and it was more of an encouragement for me to do better. You understand what I'm saying? So what she gave me, the little paperwork that she gave me, was something like, oh, okay, I could use this.
Okay.
And
yeah,
I benefited from it. So I admire her and I thank her, and she's cool to me. I like her.
Nice. Well,
so because of them, she got to know who I am. So
yeah, okay, good. Well, I was a little taken aback to see a judge like kind of, because that's the conversation you would expect like an editor to have with a reporter, like scolding a reporter for being out of line on social media. It's not really like a judge's role, but other judges were telling me that they get really protective of their jurors. So
yeah, I understood where she was coming from, and then I did get an email from the juror says they didn't mind the nickname.
Yeah.
Okay. I got one just recently, yesterday. They didn't mind. It made them feel special.
Yeah, gosh, what a crazy long trial it was. Well,
it was.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us and giving us a few minutes from the actual courthouse steps. So, thank you. It was great to chat. Thanks for coming.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.